Okay, let's unpack something really quite remarkable today. Scientists, they've zeroed in on something pretty unique about the genetic makeup of Trinidad and Tobago.
Yeah, they're talking about it almost like a living archive.
Right, or a DNA tapestry, I saw that phrase used. Weaving together threads from, well, everywhere. Africa, India, Europe, Indigenous America, even China.
And it's not just a mix. The research suggests it's genuinely one of the most complex genetic populations anywhere on Earth, which, immediately makes you ask.
What is it about this gene pool that's so special?
Exactly. And beyond the science, why is it sparking such, well, that's intense discussion, socially, culturally, even politically?
Those are precisely the big questions we want to get into in this deep dive. We'll trace the journey of these genes, look at what they mean for health, which is fascinating, and then navigate some of the controversies, the tricky areas this brings up.
And finally, how it all connects to the bigger global picture. We've got quite a stack of studies, historical perspectives here to draw from. So I think to really get it, you have to start with the history. Historians are pretty clear. Trinidad and Tobago has always been this crossroads.
For centuries.
For centuries. You have the original indigenous inhabitants, then the profound impact of enslaved Africans brought over.
A devastating part of the story.
Absolutely. Then later, these waves of indentured laborers, mainly from India, but also China, and of course, European colonists layered in there too.
So all these journeys, all these different groups, they've literally left their mark in the DNA.
They really have. And the genetic studies, they put numbers on it.
Yeah, I saw those figures. On average, researchers are finding something like 45% African ancestry?
Around that, yes. And then about 40% South Asian, predominantly Indian.
Okay.
Followed by maybe 20% European. And smaller, but definitely present, percentages of Chinese and indigenous ancestry, too.
Wow. So taken together, that makes it one of the most genetically diverse places per person globally.
Per capita, yes. It's incredible. Think of it like a global mosaic in miniature.
A snapshot of human history packed into these islands.
Exactly. And what's really interesting from a scientific view is that this kind of compressed history gives us a unique window, a sort of accelerated look at the genetic mixing that's happening more slowly elsewhere.
Which brings us to the health side of things, because this isn't just about ancestry, is it? Scientists are finding real practical consequences for health and well-being tied to this genetic blend.
That's right. It moves beyond just, historical curiosity. It has tangible effects.
And it seems complex, like there are trade-offs.
You definitely see this duality. For example, the South Asian genetic influence. It's associated with a higher risk for type 2 diabetes. Some studies put the prevalence quite high, maybe over 13% of the population.
That's significant.
But then you look at the African origin gene variants. They can offer some protection against diseases like malaria, a huge advantage historically.
Right.
Yet those same ancestral links might also be associated with higher rates of conditions like hypertension.
So protection gets one thing, maybe higher risk for another, all woven together in the same population.
Precisely. It's this fascinating balance of risk and resilience. And that's why the genetics of Trinidad and Tobago are so valuable for medical research globally.
It's like a natural experiment.
Yeah.
A living laboratory.
That's a great way to put it. It helps researchers understand how diverse ancestries interact to shape complex diseases.
Yeah.
Insights that might take much longer to find in populations that are more genetically homogeneous.
Okay, but this is where it gets complicated, isn't it? Because while the science might celebrate this diversity, it bumps up against identity, culture, society.
Exactly. That's where the really sensitive debates start to emerge. There's a strong argument from some quarters that reducing identity just to genes can be, well, simplistic. It risks erasing culture.
Especially in a place like Trinidad and Tobago with such a strong sense of Creole identity.
Precisely. That identity is built on centuries of shared experience, cultural mixing, food, music, things that go way beyond biology. It's fiercely protected.
So it's about the story people tell about themselves, not just the DNA percentages. That makes sense. And then there are ethical concerns, too, about the data itself.
Oh, absolutely. You hear serious concerns, particularly from indigenous communities and groups representing African descendants, about something called biopiracy.
Biopiracy. What does that mean in this context?
It's the worry that genetic material, DNA, could be taken from local populations, perhaps by foreign researchers, and then used commercially maybe for drug development without fair compensation or even proper consent going back to the community of origin.
Right, so issues of ownership and benefit sharing. Who controls this genetic heritage?
It's about sovereignty over their own biological information. It's a really valid concern.
So you have this tension. Science sees diversity, but society sometimes worries it highlights divisions. How does that play out politically?
Well, it becomes incredibly sensitive. Using genetics to define race or ethnicity, especially in a country with a complex history between, say, Afro-Trinidadian and Indo-Trinidadian communities, that can be really fraught. It risks reinforcing lines that people are trying to bridge culturally.
So the challenge is celebrating the science without weaponizing it, essentially.
Finding that balance, yes.
Yeah.
Respecting the science and the complex social reality.
It's clear this isn't just some isolated case study, though. Researchers are really stressing that Trinidad and Tobago's genetics, they're a model for the future.
They really are. Think about it. Globalization, increased migration, populations everywhere are becoming more genetically mixed.
So Trinidad and Tobago is kind of ahead of the curve. They're already living that future, genetically speaking.
In a very real sense, yes. Which makes this next point even more stark. Despite this incredible value, this predictive power, Caribbean populations are massively underrepresented in genetic research worldwide.
How underrepresented are we talking?
Shockingly so. Current estimates suggest less than 0.5%, half of 1% of the data in global genetic research databases comes from Caribbean populations.
Wow, less than 0.5%.
Yeah.
Compared to Europe or North America.
Exactly, which are heavily studied. It's a huge disparity.
That feels like a massive blind spot. We're potentially missing vital clues about human health.
We almost certainly are. Insights into disease, adaptation, maybe even new therapies, that could benefit everyone, simply because we're not looking at some of the most diverse populations on the planet.
A missed opportunity for sure.
A huge one for global health.
Okay, so wrapping this up, why is the Trinidad and Tobago gene story so special? Well, it's clearly this profound narrative of migration, resilience, incredible diversity packed into a small space.
Unlike almost anywhere else, really. Scientists see it offering these unique insights into health, adaptation, ancestry, a window into human genetic response.
And historians, they remind us it's a living record. Colonialism, enslavement, indenture, survival, it's all written there in the people.
A testament to these incredible human journeys.
But then there's that critical caution, isn't there? The warning that using genes to define who people are, that can be as problematic as it is insightful.
Absolutely essential to remember.
So it leaves you, the listener, with a question, I think. How should Trinidad and Tobago navigate this? Embrace this genetic uniqueness as a symbol of strength? Or proceed with real caution about how this story gets told and, importantly, how it gets used?
It's something to really mull over, this complex interplay of genes, history, and culture.